My name is Guðmundur Arnar. I'm the director of Beautiful Beings, which is going to premiere in Berlinale Panorama, I think now at the 11th of February.
Jónas að hverju er að byrja að leita á mér. Hvað ætlar aðri gaur að segja okkur? Við þorum ekki að gera neitt.
Hello and welcome to the 36th Teddy Awards. My name is Jan Felix Wuttig, and as you can see, I'm not in the Teddy studio at Myers Hotel right now because I have to be in quarantine and I'm at home. But that doesn't need to be a downer because I have one yellow couch that is just about as beautiful as the one they have in the studio. And today I'm here with Guðmundur Arnar Guðmundsson to talk about his beautiful film, Beautiful Beings. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, we're very glad to have you here. Thank you so much for the film. It was, I've been watching it and it was an incredible ride, and I found it to be very, very rich, but also very brutal at times. And it is this, I don't know, just in my own words, it is this story about what can come from violence and how violence can breed violence, but violence can also sort of breed tenderness in a way. Maybe you could tell us in your own words what your first idea was when you kind of conceived the film.
Yeah, I was searching for a story to write after I finished Hearthstone and was back home and had been traveling to festivals, and I wasn't sure what to do. And then I kept kind of having these dreams that hunted me, from the past, from a period in my life, and I started writing some stuff down, and then it kind of like just a flood of memories and scenes came into life. And even though it's inspired from some parts, it's still a fictional story. I want to make that clear, just to be fair towards my old friends. The story is fictional, but so it is kind of about, being a young male, in a masculine society, and with that pressure and kind of a need for tenderness, a need for, human touch, and not knowing how to go about it, but mainly it's about friendship.
Is this story about four boys kind of growing up and dealing sort of with, as you put it, that sort of male-dominated society or that very violent sort of environment that they are growing up in?
Yeah.
And I found it to be very interesting that sort of in the beginning of the film, we follow Balli, a young boy who has a lot of problems at school. He's not kind of connecting to any of the other kids, and the other kids kind of put him through a lot of misery. and then it kind of sort of switches and kind of broadens its scope to include all the other boys. Was it an idea that you had from the beginning to kind of make that switch, or how did you go about constructing the film?
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, I always started the film with Balli, kind of to get to know him and get to know his world. And then I brought the other boys in, also scriptwriters. And the main character is this Addi, the boy who kind of brings Balli, this the bullied kid, into his friend group. And the question kind of comes, you know, is it better to have friends like this than no friends? You know, yeah. So from the beginning, it was always, you know, starting with Balli, but then bringing the main character in, and then slowly getting the audience to switch their attention toward our real main character.
Yeah, I found it to be that it had that very complex question at the center about how sort of where's the line between friendship and abuse, because all of Balli's later friends put him through a lot of bullying, a lot of things, but eventually they grow very close together. Can you tell me what your own take on that is, if you thought about friendship in that way?
Yeah, I mean, I was interested in this hierarchy of friend groups, and just this, you know, lack of possibilities for young males how to interact when, you know, I was growing up. Of course, I think that a lot of things have changed, but it's also, you know, where are you in society, and in what kind of friend group are you? What are you allowed to do? And in my situation, it was, you know, basically we had to be tough and we had to show off, and we couldn't be soft, and then we kind of would use this kind of dominant behavior also to get physically contact and you know, and maybe, you know, wrestle and beat each other up, and then end up kind of hugging, and that was the hugging part that was kind of the nice part. You know? You know, but we would never give that off. That was just our little secret. You know?
Yes, yeah. I mean, that kind of translate on screen as a series of incredibly scenes. There are some scenes that are just very intense, also very brutal in a way. And I just imagine that could be quite difficult to kind of create an atmosphere on set that is okay and forthcoming for such young actors as well. Yeah. Could you maybe tell me a little bit about the atmosphere on set and how you went about shooting those scenes?
Yeah, I mean, of course, we rehearsed a lot with those kids, and when you're casting for roles like this, it's for me, it was really important to find boys that were not like this, basically. You know, find boys, you know, that were kind of emotionally matured and understood what they were doing and what kind of roles they were playing, and, you know, and kind of be able to separate their fictional characters from themselves between takes. And we had to do that also during the shooting, that we had to kind of remind them, you know, like, now we're not rolling, so now you have to step out of your character and stop bullying the boy, you know, stop that behavior, because it's not really you, it's the character. And but of course we rehearsed a lot of the scenes, and quite honestly, the boys, they loved going into those roles. They loved acting out like this. It's kind of like a freedom thing for them. But of course they also, I mean, they really respected each other. So after each take, they would kind of gather itself, you know, together, and like, are you okay? You know, did I go too far? And they would be, you know, yeah. So we just made sure that their characters and them, you know, the boys themselves, they didn't blend that together. There was no method acting.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's great to hear that it gave
Yeah.
them such a sense of freedom in a way, you know, like, and I found that there's this kind of other aspect to the whole story, that aspect of sort of clairvoyance or psychic foresight. Was it an idea that you had incorporated into the film or the script from the beginning, or was it something that came later on?
No, it was from the beginning in the script, and for me it was a really important part because it was like both I wanted to tackle that subject because I can relate to that as well, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. You know, it's just in different levels, and that also broadened up the film, so it became something bigger and something more. You know, it's not only about that friendship, it's also about your intuition and you know, getting guidance from something you don't fully understand. And in Iceland, it's actually in our society, we are quite open for that. And you know, if you talk to a friend or a work colleague, most people have some story about the dream they had that could tell them something, or a fortune teller they visited and told them something they shouldn't know before. So it is very integrated in our society, even though we're not, you know, it's not a day-to-day talk, but it's something, if you start off that conversation, everyone will have a story for you.
Yeah, yeah. I thought it brought quite a different aspect to the story as well, because you have these, you know, these almost visions of Addi sort of sensing things and becoming as a person quite more open to that sort of idea. It gives them a sort of a sort of tenderness even. Do you think that this aspect kind of brought more to the idea of friendship and of abuse, maybe, or how did it kind of change the tenor of the film?
For me, it's more about kind of the inner growth of Addi, you know, about him growing up and starting to accept, you know, more parts of himself, you know, stop just kind of playing his role as one of the boys and kind of getting some independence and accepting sides of himself that he has been pushing away before. So in that sense, it's more like a personal story. But then Balli, the bullied boy, he comes into it, and he's the one kind of influencing Addi to look into, you know, to accept it. So I think kind of the friendship he gets with Balli, that kind of broadens him as well to accept that side of himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I thought that also the atmosphere of the film comes also from the fact that the sets are very well sort of constructed, in the sense that they give specific moods. For example, Balli's house is, you know, it's cluttered, it's a mess. There's this blanket, this big blanket above the stairs. It gives off a certain vibe. How did you conceive and create these sets, or maybe even how did you find them in the first place? Because they are very specific in a sense.
Yeah, when finding the sets, it's basically kind of, you know, where can you rent the house in the location area that you want to be in, and who's willing to rent for a long time, and who's willing to allow you to, you know, take down a wall and change stuff. And you know, so but we were quite lucky with, for example, Balli's house. The guy was completely open to renovating his place, so we could do whatever we wanted. So we had kind of our free hands to kind of just create the atmosphere we wanted. And at this home, for example, she was the same thing. She wanted to renovate, so we could just start renovating for her. So I think that's, you know, that's the most important thing when you're finding on-set locations is finding someone who's willing to renovate.
Yes, yes, it's true.
Yes. Either he can keep part of your set, or he can just completely, or you can completely throw it all out and do something new.
Yeah, yeah. I thought it was very well made. This just gives a lot of atmosphere to the film itself. And concerning the way it sort of turns out, not to give away too much, but was that sort of an ending that you always had in mind, or was it sort of, did you throw around a couple of ideas? Because, you know, when I was watching these young boys kind of doing what they do, I kind of felt like, okay, this could go like very badly for all of them. And so I was, well, maybe not surprised at the ending as such. I found it very beautiful, but I kind of kept asking myself whether there had been alternate endings in the process.
In the script format, like I'm quite like I work a lot on the scripts before I start shooting. So and most of the time when I'm starting, I kind of have the beginning, I have the end, I have, and then I'm kind of working from that. But in the editing process, we tried some alternative, things in the editing, and one of which was quite, sad, but we thought no. I mean, I like having hopefulness.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, very much. I think it gives you that sense of hopefulness that. Well, again, not to take away too much from the viewers, but that something else than violence can actually come from violence. Yes, very much so. Okay, well, Guðmundur, thank you so much. I think that's it for me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the film. Like I said, it has been an incredible experience, and I hope you have a lot of fun showing it at the Berlinale.
Yeah, I really look forward to.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Take care.